Dave, sorry about that, Dave. I screwed up the intro. It's another edition of the East County Sports Report. I'm Ramon Scott along with Dave Dickens. I'm challenged by technology, Dave. Fortunately, this Friday night we're going to have great games in the Grossmont Conference. Dave, the biggest game of the Grossmont Conference season is this Friday night. And if you looked at the schedule, you would automatically say that the Steel Canyon and Helix game is the big game. But this is no ordinary season, Dave. And on Friday night at Granite Hills, the top-rated teams in the East County in the San Diego Union Tribune media poll, it's the 9th-ranked Granite Hills Eagles and the 10th-ranked Grossmont Foothillers squaring off in the local big game of the season. Helix and Steel Canyon, other side of the East County, second game.
I'll tell you what, if that's not one of the biggest oddities in years, to have Granite as the number one ball game over the Helix Highlanders or over the Steel Canyon Cougars is amazing. And Grossmont's is always a featured game, but these two squaring off, as we talked earlier about the score last year and how crazy of a game that was last year, and just coming, I tell you, I don't know what was better, that or all the square offs with Steel Canyon. But Granite has those games that come down to the wire.
Well, Dave, last year, trailing by 5 points and facing that 4th and 2 from the 46-yard line, a minute and a half to go. Jamie Odom, he pulled off that 54-yard touchdown run, and Grossmont won that game 33-32 on the Eagles' homecoming. Jaquale Hodges, he scored a touchdown for the Eagles in that one. Tucker, he had an 82-yard kickoff return in that one and 3 touchdowns in the first half. And McComb, he passed for 267 yards in that game with 3 TDs. So some of those players that are playing on Friday night were in that game last year. And Dave, quarterbacks Justice McComb and Justin Brown are going to square off in this game. McComb obviously off to a great start, and the Eagles have this high rating, Dave, of number 9. They're the highest rated team in the East County currently, but it's just not all Justin. Joaquin Thomas, he's averaging 20 yards per carry so far, a couple 100 yards rushing, and Thomas and McComb have both rushed for 3 touchdowns. But one key fact for Granite Hills is that Angel Almazan, he's really stretching the field for Granite Hills, 147 yards, 5 receptions, and 3 touchdowns. He might be the biggest of the big play receivers in the East County so far. Dave, great matchup Friday night. What about from the Grossmont side?
Yeah, I just want to cap off the last of that Granite too. Is if you look in the statistics, also they've scored almost double the offense of almost every team in the Grossmont League in just those 2 games. I think I don't know the exact statistic, but I think it's over 100 in just 2 games. So Granite Hills offensively is just firing it left and right. I mean, you got a good ground game, you got a great passing game, and your quarterback can rush. I think on the Grossmont side, I think Justin Brown kind of reminds us of a somewhat of a Jamie Odom. He can launch them some lasers as well. And we got a healthy Tucker this year that's eating it up in chunks. So the Granite Hills defense is going to have their hands full with that offensive line of Grossmont, and also with Tucker opening up some holes and making those cuts. He's not the easiest guy to tackle, as we all know. I mean, he's pretty slithery.
Hey, Dave, one thing Robert Tucker is he's a big fan of the Grossmont Foothillers baseball team. The Foothillers are kind of playing Slam Diego right now, but Justin Brown, the Foothiller quarterback, he had a grand slam earlier this week, and the Foothillers are just mashing. These two-sport athletes are just having tremendous success. We've been writing about them already. Do these guys even go to practice? I think they just grab their gear and they show up at the next game. I'd be surprised they don't show up with the wrong uniform at some of these games, but they can play. It's a high school athlete's dream. Who wouldn't have wanted to play a baseball game on Thursday and then a football game on Friday night? These guys are having the time of their lives, well rewarded after what we've gone through over the last year. But just looking so forward to this one, Dave. You're going to be out there at that game. Talent on both sides of the ball. Interesting, Dave. We're hyping up with Brown and Macomb, but both teams have featured their secondary quarterback, but their quarterbacks in waiting. Grossmont, they have a sophomore. No, Grossmont has a junior, and Granite Hills, I believe, has a sophomore, and they've seen action in the game. And just given the circumstances and the way these coaches have been going about it, maybe they won't see as many series as they did in the previous games, but I imagine that both of the I'm not even calling backups because these are the next quarterbacks of these two teams, and they both have looked good so far. But they're going to get into the game, I would think, even though this is a tremendous game and a tremendous opportunity for both these teams. It's maybe an elimination game in the race for a mythical championship.
I would say so, and the depth that both of these teams have. They definitely they're the depth that both of these teams have. They're going to definitely have great years next year. And obviously, with the youngsters that they do have on both sides, but just I don't know if a collision like that tomorrow to put in the younger folks. I don't know if they do see a series. I think they might see one or two if it's close. If it's a I just don't see a blowout happening. They're just two great games on both sides of the ball as far as teams are concerned, and I think it will come down to the play of the special teams.
Oh wow, that is interesting. I think that both teams have guys. We've seen a couple of guys from Grossmont in the return game so far. And I think we know that Granite's explosive too. And a lot of times special teams, you want to work on those. Sometimes they can be, luck, field position, ball bounces, crazy. This is going to be a great game. Just want to touch on a few more players, Dave, from what happened last week. I want to mention for Granite Hills, freshman Jordan Glaze. He had a team high 5 solo tackles and a sack in the win last week against the Vaqueros, and or was the Vaqueros? Valhalla, and Joe Holt, 3 tackles for loss. All these games in sports, Dave, I'm really having a hard time. I don't know how you're going to compensate me for all these sports going on at once. But also want to tell you a story, Dave. Granite Hills center Desmond Blast, he highlighted a play on his Instagram where he made a pretty solid block on El Cap's Skylar Werner. They're playing El Cap, of course. And unfortunately, Skylar, he had his shoulder pop out, and he kidded Desmond on Instagram. He said, "You had to down me like that and knock my shoulder out of place." And Desmond said, "Well, hey, I'm real sorry about that." But Skylar got back to him and said, "It's all good. I kind of got a shoulder. It kind of pops out once in a while. Just giving you a hard time for that great block you put on me." But what a week for Grossmont in that game against West Hills, Dave. Not only did Brown have the 2 touchdowns he passed to Nathan Acevedo, who had 6 catches for 100 yards, and it was Trenton Giles who came in and played quarterback sparingly a couple times, several series in there, and he threw his 2 touchdown passes to Jawad Rivera. So kind of like when these pitchers have their own catcher right now, the Foothillers touchdown receivers have their own quarterback. But also want to mention, you've started to talk about some of the top special teams performers. One of the leaders right now, certainly, Grossmont Jr. Joseph Garcia. 3 field goals last week, 5 for 5 on the PATs. So, Dave, this is just going to be incredible. You talked about the depth. Cobb is really impressed with his depth on that offensive line. He knows that the games have been, favored. The Eagles have been favored. They've drubbed these teams. They've benefited from Helix and Steel Canyon losing. They've had this 2-0 record right now. The best team in the East County, according to the polls, the Granite Hills Eagles. Dave, this century, it's 8-2 Grossmont. Granite's at home. I'm going to take Granite. They're at home. I'm going to take Granite in this one by a field goal.
I was just going to say the same. I am going to take Granite, and I'm going to take them by 2.
Okay, so we like a tight one there. Interesting to note, Dave, the first ever game between Granite and Grossmont. It was the first game in Granite history, and it was played at Cajon Speedway. How about that? Grossmont won at 34-6. Dave, next up, what would be normally the big game of the week, and we talk about the Grossmont Granite, but here's Helix and Steel Canyon. This will be on the NFHS network. Helix is 0-2. They're still ranked number 11. Steel Canyon ranked 14th with a 1-1 record, Dave. This is the other Grossmont Hills League game, but still these teams are in it just like Grossmont and Granite for the mythical title that you're going to award someone.
Yes, I think though that this is with the shortened season, I think is a must win for the Highlanders. I mean, the Scotties definitely got to come up big on this one. Steel needs it as bad too, but and I think just for character, I mean, after last week against Cathedral, Cathedral just It got pretty ugly out there, and it got ugly often, and it got ugly quick. But to the Cougars, I mean, you're going up against one of the top teams in the county, or not in the county, well, San Diego County. So I mean, it had to be expected. But I think that Steel and Helix, I think they're evenly matched. Helix might be a little better offensively, but I think it's going to be a real nail biter. And I recall the last time that the two met at Steel Canyon with full stadiums and overfilled parking lot, and Steel came out of the gate fired up. I believe it even at one time led by 3 touchdowns, and then come after the half, and after losing a player, they came roaring back and ended up winning that game against Steel at their home. I don't know. What do you think this year? We got new quarterbacks that are captaining these offenses, so it's a little different. And not to take anything away from their professionalism in their spot, but definitely not the quarterbacks that we've seen from Helix and Steel of past.
Well, Elia Charizamasi, he took over late last season for Jeremy Mendez-Gal, and if you remember, he got off to a terrific start. I mean, he really lit it up. So I think that he might be the most underrated of the quarterbacks in the East County right now. He's getting the featured treatment from Jim Lindgren this week in the Union Tribune, and the next day or two there'll be an article on him. So I think Charizamasi is an overlooked commodity. He didn't obviously wasn't able to do much last week because of Cathedral's dominance. Major Gibbons had a pretty nice night. He had 86 yards of total offense, so he's a good young back that can match up maybe with Christian Washington. Washington has over 250 yards, nearly 300 yards of total offense, but the Highlanders have had little else thus far on offense this season. They're going to have to find some offense. Their quarterbacks are completing just 30% so far. So Leon Gillis, he had a big, brilliant interception actually with 2 minutes to go in the first half against Cathedral Canyon last week. Both teams are going to have stout defenses, I think, in this game, and I expect a low-scoring game. And with the game at Steel Canyon, Helix, they don't lose 3 in a row to teams in San Diego County, but I've got Steel Canyon winning this one by a couple of points.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to stick with your boys, the Scotties, and on keeping their series at they never go 0-3 and win this one by 3.
Yeah, no doubt. A toss up, and I think that I think our pick is apropos here in this one. All right, Dave, we got breaking news right now coming out of Santee. Dave, the El Capitan Vaqueros and the Santana Sultans are going to meet in a football game for the first time since 2013. El Cap won that one 42-0. But El Cap, they kind of dominated the series this century, 11-2 before they had this little hiatus. El Capitan leads the all-time series 31-15, but right now, Dave, El Cap going to run into a little bit of a juggernaut in the Santana Sultans. How about Kavion Jones? He rushed 17 times for 162 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Kearney Comets. The Sultans won by 33 points. Michael Richter, your sack master, he got out there with 118 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Drew Temple was at it. He had 180 yards. And Jared Forster making many, many catches once again this season. 9 catches, 142 yards.
Yeah, we weren't surprised that, what Jared was going to do. I mean, what he did last year, I think he can only get better. Even in the shortened season. But you're talking about Michael Richter, the Richter scale. He was, according to Coach Estes, he didn't even want to come off the field. I mean, he was raring to go. He was top notch in playing offense and defense. And boy, these Sultans, you remember we had our preview with them, and with the preview, we were on there for a little bit after, quite a bit after, maybe another 20-30 minutes with the Sultans. I think they underestimated how good they really were as opposed to last year's team. And they have the record only at 1-0 due to unforeseen circumstances and scheduling and just the times that we're in. But I think that this Santana team has a very good chance offensively and defensively of going undefeated. So on the other hand, I did see El Capitan play their first game at home against the Steel Canyon Cougars. And, El Cap played some great defense. They really did. I think Sean McDade has done a phenomenal job with that defense. And with the secondary that he has and the lineman that he does have. However, Yoakley has got a good pair of legs and he's got a good strong arm. These receivers got to catch the ball too, though. Can't put it all on his shoulders, and we got to get that running game going if they are to achieve taking down the Sultans. But unfortunately, in this one for the Vaqueros, I'm going to have to go with Estes and Drew Temple of the Santana Sultans, and including the Richter scale on the other side of the ball. Santana by 14.
Yeah. Dave, one bright spot for El Cap last week in the game against the Eagles was Xavier Peace. He scored against the Eagles for the second straight year, and this one was really spectacular. It was one of the plays of the week, if not the play of the week in the county last week. He kind of touched the ball inside and wasn't sure it was going to bounce, so touched it inside the 5. He had to return it because he ended up getting it about the 1 or 2 yard line. Ended up going 98 yards for a touchdown. So congratulations to Xavier on his long kickoff return. Remember that one for the rest of your life for sure. And I'm going to go with the Sultans. I agree with you. I hope it'll be a little closer than 2 touchdowns. I'll say a touchdown. El Cap, This is I don't know how this is going to go. I mean, we haven't seen these teams play in a long time, and we know in the rankings and the ratings, Santana is comfortably better than El Capitan, and they are at home. Just want to think El Cap's a little bit hungry, and maybe they can give Santana a ball game here. So I got the Sultans though, definitely by a couple of scores.
Yeah, if El Cap can create some turnovers, I think that's what's going to be the key to overcoming the Santana's firepower on that offense. Because like we said, Drew Temple connecting with Jared, and then also their running game and a heck of a defense. But hey, let's see what they can come up with. I have all the faith in the world in that Vaquero defense on creating turnovers, so they can get pressure on Temple and make them feel a little uncomfortable. It's a good possibility, but again, just the way Santana played Kearney and the way that they're coming off of last year, definitely by 14.
Yeah, and still a decent game. Give El Capitan. That's the thing I'm trying to get across to you, Dave. Is look at these Grossmont Conference matchups. They're all very intriguing matchups for us. Even though there's no championship this year, all these games this week are quite interesting, including this one. Two teams that kind of compete for a league championship against one another recently, Monta Vista and West Hills. Dave, last week against Valhalla, Monta Vista won comfortably 34-0. Lamonte Jenkins, who we had on the preview show, he rushed 9 times for 125 yards, including touchdown runs of 80 and 18 yards. And Monta Vista had 3 interceptions of the Valhalla quarterbacks. And, of course, they got that big offensive line led by Jesse Schrader. Monta Vista probably in position to be a favorite in this one, but with West Hills at home, I think that evens the field a little bit. West Hills lost to Grossmont last week, 44-3. So if you look at the scores from last week, you kind of think Monta Vista, but I don't know. This one kind of, watch out, Monta Vista.
Well, I mean, Dylan gets it together, and I think Coach Casey Ash also. The offensive guru that he is, and defense, he pretty much runs the whole football program all the way down to the freshman level, and he's got a pretty good knowledge team over there, and also the varsity team. They did lose to Grossmont. I mean, Grossmont is a superior Hills team, but I think. I don't want to take anything away from West Hills, but Dylan has a good game. I mean, he's got a good pair of legs and an arm as well. But I like Monta Vista. They have been competing the last few years. Monta Vista has just been same formula as we talked about last week: pound the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. I think is Coach Hamamoto's motto really is run that ball, tire out that defense. And if that happens, I believe Monta Vista only threw 1 pass. Last week.
No secrets what's going on, what's going to happen. So that always is going to give West Hills, maybe a little bit more of a chance. It sounds like you have Monta Vista favored. I think I do too. But junior Dylan Snyder, he had 34-yard reception in the game against Grossmont. And Brandon Kelly was standing right there, Dave, doing our Friday live show. First play of the game, Brandon Kelly had an interception of Grossmont early. And I also want to mention juniors Evan Patterson, Trevor Mbimbo recorded sacks for West Hills, and I also want to mention West Hills' Max Conaway. He's probably the conference's best punter so far, unfortunately for Max and the Wolfpack. Maybe not even necessarily statistically in net, but he looks really adept at directing the kick away from dangerous receivers. So Monta Vista leads the series 15-6, but the last 10 meetings have split right down the middle, 5-5. So this century, Monta Vista leading 7-5. Interestingly, Dave, in the Wolfpack's second game all time, it was their first Grossmont Conference game ever, was against Monta Vista back in 1989, and Monta Vista won that one 28-14. And I've got Monta Vista winning this one by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with you. Same thing. I'm going to go with Monta Vista by 7.
Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe a little more, but I want to. Like I said, let's give West Hills a chance. I don't think we definitely haven't seen the best of West Hills yet this season, and going to have to do it at home in a big game like this. All right, Dave. Hey, Valhalla is going to travel to take on Mount Miguel, and I saw a great game last week, Dave, and I was just so thrilled to get to the second half of the Valhalla and of the Mount Miguel El Cajon game. I just looked at the graphic there. I don't have at in the middle, but it's Valhalla at Mount Miguel. Dave, this is the oldest continuous rivalry or series, I should say, kind of a rivalry, but the oldest continuous series in the East County. These teams have continued to play every year since 1975. Even the longest storied rivalries have taken a hiatus of a couple years of late. So these two continue to play. Hats off to them. Last 34 games, tied at 17 all. I got to that Braves Matadors game. It was a 1-point game at halftime. And then all of a sudden, JD Crazy Legs Laverdier, he started running all over the place. He finished with 206 yards rushing on 26 carries. And he also found his target, Dalen Hayden, 7 catches for 86 yards. And our man, JoJo Castillo, 2 interceptions, one at the start of the third quarter and one towards the end of the game. So I think Mount Miguel is going to be favored here. Valhalla winless coming in. They've got 2 quarterbacks, it looks like still. I want you to look for receiver Marsalis Childs. He has 4 catches so far. And running back Hussein Bakir, 77 yards against the Monarchs last week, Dave.
Yeah, Mount Miguel, I'll tell you one thing. Coach Frank Coy's baseball team is really missing JoJo Castillo as part of his lineup. And would definitely love to have him back on the baseball diamond for sure.
Is JoJo not doing them both at the same time, or I thought he was? But...
No, he does not. As a matter of fact, because that okay. was from Frank Coy. He did tell me that he is missing, and he is definitely one of his key players, along with Thomas Ringer on that Mount Miguel team, which I just got. Flash of the score today. Mount Miguel won 16-10 in a baseball game. And
sounds like a football score.
I got to exactly. I got to see. As a matter of fact, when I was at the Christian game at Mira Mesa, you were showing me what was. And as a matter of fact, I was able to also capture the 2-point conversion that was converted also by Laverdier.
Yep, and man, I tell you what, Dave, to get out there for my first game, I didn't go out the first week, and to go to a couple of games. First game I enjoyed, Grossmont, seeing them put on a little bit of an exhibition. But when I got down to that Braves game, and it was an exciting game, and just at the energy, and then the Braves, they had a kind of a 2-minute drill kind of comeback. No, they had to go 99 yards, but it didn't matter. It was just so thrilling to see a tight game where guys were. I wrote in the article that they were getting each other's face, but it was kind of sporting. There was one sequence where Laverdier took off running, and he was knocked hard out of bounds, and got up, and they were chatting at each other, but not dirt. He's like, "Oh, great job, whatever." But just intense play, and they could feel at the end of the game, the Braves, a little bit of air out of the sails when they lost, but still just a great night for everyone there, particularly the fans and the cheerleaders and the players and me. So I'm just so thankful to get out there. Dave, did you pick it, Dave? We both picked the Matadors, huh?
Yeah, I got Mount Miguel with the gunslinger back there. I think I got them by 14 over Valhalla.
Sounds good. I think they can do it by 14 as well. Okay, Dave. You mentioned it, Dave. Last week you went to see Christian and Mira Mesa. Dave, it was 8-all when I finally got a hold of you at halftime, but the Patriots won 30-14. Gabe Krug passed for a touchdown. He rushed for a touchdown in the second half. And Jack St. Fleur, I want to know about that 22-yard touchdown run in the first minute of the game. Krug, he also did it with his legs. He had a 9-yarder is what that touchdown run in the second half was. How about Nate Bettis? He also had a 10-yard touchdown run, and Hunter Provience had a touchdown reception. They ended up going up by 20 points, Dave.
Yeah, that one was as I was actually leaving the game, and it kind of got to the point where Christian was running away with it. But boy, that first half, a lot of punts, a lot of I don't know if it was bad reads on both sides, but some drop balls thrown short, thrown over their head. I don't know. I think it was just a little rust that needed to be knocked off. And as you saw, we got you on the line at your game, and we got to chat with Coach Dan Mitchell at the half, and the adjustments that he did need to make, and he definitely made those adjustments because offensively they just turned up the juice. And as far as St. Fleur, yeah, he did score that. He scored the first points of the game, but
it was It was a rushing touchdown. I mean, I think when they're talking about Jack as a receiver, and we know he could be a receiver, but was he lined up? Was it that little pitch? Do you remember?
I was just walking into the game, but he had just scampered in there. But then I saw him go down kind of hard and weird. So
yes,
yeah. So I don't know his status at this point, but that's going to be a huge loss for the Patriots. He doesn't get back on that field.
Yeah, did he? Did he miss part of the game or the remainder of the game? Is that?
Correct.
Do you remember if that's correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is big. Something to keep an eye on.
But I gotta tell you too. I was a little surprised at the towards the end of the first half. Gabe Krug took a vicious, like a sandwich hit from each side. I was surprised. I thought they were going to take a knee, but they snapped the ball. I think he was going to try and go deep with a Hail Mary, but they came in fast off the edge, and boy, he just that guy took some vicious hits that night. But as we know, Gabe Krug is a tough kid, and that's what Coach Mitchell has spoke of him as well, and made quite a few plays with his legs to pick up quite a few first downs as well for the Patriots, and I think that's going to continue to be part of their offense. And a great flea flicker also.
Oh, that was great.
And I think you might have even been on the.
I was screaming. I was screaming at you. I'm like, Dave, chase the ball down there.
Wow. It was a pretty incredible second half, but I'll tell you, it was a snoozer. Yes, at the beginning, back and forth punting. At 8-8, who would have thought it would have ended up that way? But Christian really turned it on. I don't know too much about the Cavers, but all I know is that Christian turns it up, and I think they've knocked the rust off now. I think that they would be heavily favored over the Cavers. Don't know a whole lot about them, so I'll go out on a limb and say the Patriots by 14.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of a different look for San Diego. I mean, it's not the same San Diego team as the last maybe couple of years. So, but they have, I think, 8 starters back. They said we haven't seen them yet. This is their first game, so they do have some talent. They have Jaden Green still going to be the quarterback. So we'll just have to see. I'm going to pick Christian as well by at least a touchdown. They should get it done here, and. Well,
you remember San Diego. The last time we saw San Diego actually was against Monte Vista in the CIF quarterfinals, I want to say, and it was Big Boy McClendon. I think he had 8 touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen San Diego, but again, we just got to see. I mean, the first game out of the blocks, there's not much to go on. We do know some of the players. UT said UT preview had eight starters back, 6 of them on offense, and of course Ruben Villa. I think people recognize his name, and Green. So at least casually, I mean, some people might recognize some of the other names. Not going to get into it. We're going to pick the Patriots because we have to win that game. Okay.
And Christian, I got you got to give some credit to their defense too. They play a heck of a defense also.
Okay. All right, Dave. Moving on to our next game now, and then we got another great one. How about this? The Braves, after their game, I think I'm just trying to say these are all decent games. And here, the Braves are going to go on the road to take on Sweetwater. Now, I think the Braves can come out of the game with Mount Miguel with some confidence. I mean, they played very, very well. It was thrilling. They had a chance to win. They had big plays in the game. They had one big play was right after Mount Miguel had scored to kind of extend the lead. Elkhorn Valley came right back with a bomb, and it was Malone, and he hit Jaden Barnett with a big play, and Barnett ended up with 3 catches for 100 yards, but it was the big 71-yarder that he had that got the Braves, kept him right in the game. Malone had 121 yards and a TD, but he had 10 tackles in the game. Dave, right at the end of the game, in the most crucial moments, as the Braves started the 1-yard line, Malone actually engineered the team out to about the 20-yard line, but there was still time left in the game. They started the drive with 2 minutes left. They had to go 99 yards, but unfortunately, on one play, Malone lost his hat, and he had to come off for a play, and it was a key play. I think it might have been 2nd and 5, 2nd and 10, something like that. And you don't want your quarterback to come off. They had to, use a player maybe who had some experience, but they were calling for a wide receiver to go into the game. I don't know if that's who ended up for that. On that play, they ran a nice play. Actually, almost got a completion, but Malone had to come out right at a crucial moment, and they just couldn't get it quite down the field. They had a couple of shots late, but I want to also mention Elkhorn Valley sophomore Yazir Blair had an interception in the game. So Sweetwater, Dave, beat Chula Vista 36-7 last week, rushing for 440 yards. 3 running backs went over 100 yards, including Mario Villa's 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Sweetwater does it one way. It's all on the ground.
Well, we have to hope that the Braves defense steps it up on the road. And like you mentioned, Malone playing both sides. I've seen even last year, he'll put some, he's not the largest guy, but he really packs a punch when he makes those tackles. Definitely knows how to make a professional tackle.
Well, this game will be played at Gale Devers Stadium, and the Red Devils lead the series 10-4-1 this century. It's 3-3, although I think the Braves got one of those wins by forfeit just a couple years ago against Sweetwater. This series dates back to 1962. Wow, the Red Devils went 7-1-1 before the turn of the century. Okay, Dave, one more game to talk about, and hey, a proud effort for the Mountain Empire Redhawks last week. They lost to Vincent Memorial 14-0, but Vincent Memorial, they shut out everybody. They've had 13 shutouts under their current coach, David Wong. But I thought Mountain Empire showed themselves very well in that game. Larry Clark carried 6 times for 59 yards in the fourth quarter. He finished with 89 yards. He also forced a fumble at the goal line and recovered it inside the 5. Senior receiver Marcus Smith, 5 receptions from quarterback Corey Van. It's the 3rd straight home game for the Redhawks. Dave, La Jolla Country Day lost to Bishops last Saturday, 21-18. The Tories passed for nearly 300 yards, but had no ground game to speak of. One of the receivers caught 14 passes.
Well, Marcus Smith, I think if he gets hot and Larry Clark stays as hot as he has been on offense, that's going to be the key to the success for Mountain Empire against La Jolla Country Day, and I think it is doable. They've just come up a little bit short, a little bit of bad luck. They've been playing hard, they've been playing tough. It's just been a couple of plays short of getting that W. It's a younger team, as we talked to Coach Van at the beginning of the year, and Clark and Smith. Um, it's growing pains right now. He had to build that other team with Gabe Heidorn and all those guys for 4 years as well. And then when they became juniors and seniors, we saw the return of Mountain Empire, and they even got themselves a division championship. So it's going to take a while. This one, though, at home, I'm going to say that they snap their losing streak and give Mountain Empire by 3.
Okay, and I'll try to fire up the troops. I'll go with La Jolla Country Day by a touchdown in this one. And Dave, I blew it. We didn't pick the Braves and the Red Devils, did we? I've got to go with the Braves. I think they look great. I know that Sweetwater had a big, comfortable victory over a Chula Vista program that played some competitive games over the last couple of years. A little bit different story right now, but Braves, I think, were a little bit ahead in the ratings. But Sweetwater's at home. I'm going with the Braves.
I'm going to go with the Braves.
That's going to be close.
I'm gonna go with the Braves also, and I'm gonna ride on the Malone train on his arm, and I'm gonna look for Clarence to be a big part of that offense and have a breakout game against Sweetwater. And so I have the Braves by 7.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show, Dave. You got some great sponsors, and you went out and talked to one this week, and you got more sponsors than we have games, I think.
Yeah, we ended up with a couple Granite Mortgage and Lakeside Equipment kind of linked over there to Christian High, and big supporters of Christian High School, and big fans of the East County sports. And so we picked up a few more. And then we got our originals, Monacarillos. If that's we still don't know if that's how it's supposed to be said. But anyway, over there on 2nd Street, it's been there for years. Unfortunately, there's talk that Pat Vlotti might be hanging it up in another year or so.
Is that breaking news? Is that breaking news right here?
I think it is, because going into retirement around this time, he said, I just wanted to let you know before we even started talking about the kids and how he supported the East County for so long and so many years for East County sports of giving away free pizzas to the athletes of the week. So to see them,
I was the athlete of the week.
So to see them go is that's a shame. But we will enjoy some Italian food until then. And also, speaking of Italian food, Nicolosi's also opened their new location down there off of 5th Avenue downtown, where there's going to be plenty of eating inside these days.
News.
And then Alpine. Yes, it is. And as we continue to break out of this pandemic, more people are going to start dining and want that fine dining like Nicolosi's. And also Alpine Manufacturing. Got to always give it to the Coit brothers that played a lot of East County sports themselves. Retro Sports, doing a lot of even East County sports gear.
Where's my hat? Where's my hat?
And they just made a fine hat for Ramon that he put an order in for. Just remember, for all your embroidery, head over to Retro Sports. They do a ton of it. And and then over at Al's Sports Shop, you head over there and they are always the personalized service. They'll walk you around the shop. They'll definitely get you an outfit that and the equipment that you need. Rob Treadwell. Matter of fact, we'll be Ramon doesn't know this yet, but we'll be doing a commercial for Mr. Treadwell coming up here shortly. He wants to update the ad, and so we'll be filming a commercial here shortly, and we'll talk about that after the show. Also, San Diego Kings basketball, and our good friend Hoppy Hopgood, Scott Hoppy Hopgood at H12 Sports Academy. Thank you all for your support for the last several years, and ever since the days of the Daily California and my father. And for Ramon Scott, I'm Dave Dickens, and thank you for joining us.